Hello and welcome back to an episode of A Tanker Review with me, your average Tanker Tony. No other way to put it. Now, this week I promise something a little bit special, and by God, Professor Tony delivers. So, we've done all of the usual suspects on 40k versus, your average lower tier science fiction. Your Star Wars, your Star Treks, the like. We even threw some Halo in there just because we wanted to make it a little bit more equal. Well, I am here to tell you that 40k is not the end-all, be-all, best of all, toughest science fiction franchises. In fact, I have compiled a list of many franchises that could beat the brakes off of 40k and probably make the Emperor a zoo exhibit. As heretical as it is for me to say this, that is where we are this week. 40k versus everybody.
Bring me everyone. What do you mean everyone?
Everyone!
So welcome back to another episode this week. This is my second attempt to record this because I got most through recording it the first time and I realized that I left my dehydrator running literally right beside the microphone stand. That wasn't some forethought on my part. I probably shouldn't have smoked a whole lot of the devil's lettuce before doing it, but fruit snacks. Anyways, like I promised you, this week we have the list. We are going to go down this list talking about all of the things that could take not only the Imperium of Man in one-on-one honorable combat through the galaxy, but probably the whole of 40k, Tyranids included and whatnot, just because if we're going to do 40k versus everybody, we're going to make freaking everybody. So, as I promised, here is my analog Excel spreadsheet. I've broken it down into 6 categories: the faction, fleet scale, WMDs, FTL logistics, whether it's a super intelligence, a super AI, or if they're just a straight up god, and the likely outcome. I sometimes have a little bit different or 2 parts to the likely outcomes, but they are there. So some of these factions, I don't have all the knowledge in my head like I do because, again, I'm only one person. Despite my ex-wife telling me I've got multiple personalities. It's just to combat her multiple personalities. Anyway, so off camera, I've got my computer monitor up, so I will be reading the basic overview from Wikipedia for some of them, just to give everybody the same base level intelligence on what we're talking about. So this is all in fun. This is all for a good time. Let's spit it all out in the comments. Because ultimately we're all a bunch of grown-ass adults talking about fictional universes and who can fight who. Remember, everything you thought was awesome when you were 12 is awesome. Big boobs, heavy metal, Warhammer, sci-fi, all awesome. Don't regret it. I don't. Oh, I don't know if you've noticed, this door beside me, I promise I'm not freakishly tall. This door is in fact freakishly short. I'm 5'10". Yeah, 5'10". Used to be a little bit taller, but back injuries fucked me up. This door's about 5'6" and about right there. So maybe about 5'4". 5'4", 5'6". Somewhere's in there. Anyway. The analog spreadsheet. But before we get there, we're going to channel our inner Wendigoon. Thank you all for watching. You're all amazing legends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Professor Tony, we've got this. Alright, first up is going to be The Culture. Now, The Culture is a science fiction series written by Scottish author Ian M. Banks, which sounds suspiciously like he writes for Black Library. Now, The Culture is basically Star Trek turned up to 11. Take the United Federation of Planets and make them basically a tier 3 or galactic scale civilization. Not just like a small regional power in the galaxy, but they control the whole galaxy as a whole. Now, they basically have millions of AI-powered, computer-coordinated warships that can move in unison across the entire galaxy. They can sterilize entire systems like that with the grid fire system. They have instantaneous galactic FTL travel, so they're already beating the freaking brakes off of 40K, and everything is controlled by super AI. This is going to completely shitwreck the 40K universe. Essentially, the culture could wipe the floor with the entire galaxy as it stands right now in the 42nd millennium effortlessly, like without even like, it wouldn't even be like a blip on the radar. They would just like, oh, here's a problem. This is really dirty. We need to clean this up. They would see it as something that needs to be cleaned. They'd look at all the pollution and the waste and be like, oh, well, this needs to be tidied up. They wouldn't even see it as a war. It'd be just a, oh, we're just correcting things. Like, that is how they would treat 40K. Now, the next one probably needs no introduction, the Xeelee sequence, all right? Allow me to describe the Xeelee sequence as it's posted on Wikipedia. They are a, let's see here, an eldritch symbiote composed of space-time defects, Bose-Einstein condensates, and baryonic matter. I can't even comprehend what that would mean. Like, Bose-Einstein condensates are a type of matter that barely makes sense, even though it's like we can see it. Like, it climbs containers, freezes things, it can move through objects. It's absolutely nuts for a material. Now, basically, anything the Xeelee do are stellar scale on an engineering level, all right? So already it's beating the brakes off of anything the 40K can do, which is basically planetary scale engineering at this point. They've got singularity bombs, cosmic string disruptors. They can literally tear space and time apart in a region. To give you an idea, humanity in the Xeelee sequence was a Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Basically controlled the entire power output of galaxies and were on their way to a Type 4. And they tried to go to war with Xeelee a second time as they approached Type 3.5, moving on to 4, to get them out of other galaxies. When they finally realized that they couldn't do anything against the Xeelee because the Xeelee chose to leave the Milky Way galaxy, much like you or I would choose to get up from a chair because the crickets outside are just a little too loud and annoying. They can't physically hurt you, but it's just annoying. They left hoping they could come back later when it's quieter. That's how Xeelee see things. Like, they're a tier 5 like civilization. They operate across the entire universe. Not just the observable universe, the full universe. Like, they border on near omnipotence, and they can literally erase the Milky Way galaxy should they choose to do so. They just don't, because it's a potential loss of habitat in the near future. Like, when you're considered nothing more than crickets and you are a tier 3 civilization, I don't know whether that's insulting or terrifying, and I think it's a little bit of both. You know what sucks about this is some of these don't have any sort of artwork or anything to go with it. So yeah, I'll have like their book covers on here, but there's no real artwork to go with it, because how do you artistically comprehend something like a Xeelee? Like, how do you do that? I don't know. The next one is the Time Lords and the Daleks. Now, I'm not a Doctor Who fan, or a Whovian as they call themselves. Quite frankly, I think it is a little bit of a lost... They really missed the ball not calling themselves Hooters, because I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old, and Hooters is funny. Oh, that's the thing that cancels me. That's hilarious. Everything you thought was cool when you're 12 years old is in fact cool. Heavy metal, huge boobs, heavy metal magazine, Warhammer figurines. It's all awesome. Don't let that go. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Doctor Who, and I wasn't reading through all of their pages of information on all of their Wikipedia sites. So, basically, they have temporal war fleets. They can move through time, space, and across linear time as we understand it. They can tear reality apart with reality bombs, and they use a paradox-based temporal drive to move through time, space, and their time positions. Not something I can really wrap my head around, but that's neither here nor there. And they operate on a hive mind. For all intents and purposes, the Daleks and the Time Lords can go toe-to-toe with everyone in the 40k universe, with the exception of the Necrons. And the reason I say this is because the Necrons themselves, at least fully awakened, have a complete understanding of, or at least able to operate through time and space differently in different pocket dimensions compared to every other faction. Like, they can literally go back in time to assassinate someone in the future. Like, that's how they operate. They can move just as fluidly through there. Plus, they've got the Ori, which would allow them to basically wipe out, Dalek fleets as they show up, or Time Lord fleets as they show up, to be like, oops, pinchy, pinchy, wipey, wipey out. If they just decide not to, bring that Ori over to their system and go, oh, look, there's their system, and poof. It's gone. Long story short, in a full-on fight, less the Necron, basically 40k gets retconned out of existence. It's like, it's like Black Library wrote it, just retcon everything. Now the next one needs exactly 0 introductions. The first sets of real gods on our list, the Q Continuum. Fleets, not necessary. They can literally wheel themselves across the universe like Thanos with a glove, if Thanos had imagination. They can do anything stellar scale on a minimum, at least seen in lore. Like, we've seen them make entire solar systems disappear just like that. They don't need FTL. They are gods by definition, and basically they can either erase the Imperium, orcs, all that, or they can turn the entire Milky Way galaxy into an effing zoo. Take your pick. Q himself, John Delancey, might even turn, might start a collection just to piss off Trazen the Infinite. Hell, he might take Trazen the Infinite and put him in a collection. Alright, next one on the list is one of the videos that you're probably familiar with, Star Wars Legends. From what I understand, they have hundreds to hundreds of thousands of various classes of conventional ships, so at least they could, in theory, at least match the Imperium on a level like that. They've got the Sun Crusher, Starforge, and Galaxy guns for weapons of mass destruction. Their standard hyperdrives, as long as they've got areas or hyperlanes mapped out, they could fight. Plus, they've got their Force users. This is the one faction in all of this, despite all of this nonsense that comes up in Star Wars Legend, I would still place it at a stalemate with the full 40k galaxy. Because running up against orcs, Necrons, Tyranids, plus the Imperium of Man, plus the Tau, plus whatever bullshit's hiding out in the Ghoul Stars, Star Wars Legends still is maybe, like, at its best, like, maybe equal in terms of destructive power with the whole 40k universe. Because, again, the 40k universe just shows us again and again of cosmic scale threats. So, this is the closest one where I think that the Imperium would potentially survive, was the Star Wars Legends universe. Next one, Forerunners. Oh shit, did I not just do a video on this? There's a reason I picked the Covenant instead of the Forerunners, or even Ancient Humanity, for that matter. And that's because the Forerunners and ancient humanity were leagues above the Imperium of Man, even at the height of the Dark Age of technology. Like, they were going to other galaxies. Like, let's run through it, all right? They've got the millions of advanced hard light ships. They've got halos, the arc, composers. They've got near instant or instant on a sector scale FTL travel. Super advanced AIs that could hack literally anything. They've wiped all life from the galaxy on at least one occasion. Who's to say they couldn't do it again? And that occasion where they wiped out all the life was just to deny the food. Now, they could literally take those halos, tune them specifically for the Tyranids, wipe them out, come in, use their millions of hard light ships to just cleanse the galaxy all of the 40k problems. The Forerunners would probably take the whole 40k galaxy in less than a decade, at tops. Now, the next one up is going to be the first ones from Babylon 5. Including in the first ones, I'm including the Shadows and the Vorlons, because they are both first ones. They're just the only two first ones that stayed behind in the galaxy in any sort of number. Now, they have got hundreds of thousands of advanced bioships. Ships that can travel through hyperspace but don't need hypergates. They can travel in and they can phase in and out of space at will. They are incredibly tough, taking several capital ships worth of firepower to bring down on an individual scale. They are hundreds of thousands of years more advanced than the oldest civilizations in the B5 universe. They've got planet killers, they've got the death cloud, they've got viruses that can wipe out entire planets like that, or they can be tuned to take 10 years depending on how much they want to torture a people. They have interdimensional hyperspeed travel. They can move across the galaxy in hours or days at most. They have super intelligence, not just super AI. AI really isn't a thing in the B5 universe. They've got basically super intelligence is the equivalent of, I guess you could say, a Mentat in the Dune universe. Now, they would cripple the crap out of the entire Imperium of Man. They wouldn't be able to recover. They could individually isolate each one of the planets, take out warp space. Like, they could essentially render warp space null and void. Like, that's their level of engineering. Like, what was it? The Vorlons, when they were trying to travel through third space, they closed that up. They almost collapsed that entire universe. Like, there is just, it's a level of engineering that the Imperium just isn't capable of dealing with. The only saving grace they might have against one of the factions is that shadow vessels are extremely susceptible to psychic jamming. But if they're fighting all of the first ones, they can be countered, like human psychers can be countered by Vorlon psychics. It's been thought of. But they may not completely wipe out the Imperium or the whole 40k galaxy, but they will individually cripple each one of the species and take them out. There's nothing that could basically stop one of the Shadow Death Clouds. Well, no, that's not entirely true. They did manage to take one Death Cloud out with some Deus Ex Machina in the one movie there with Tony Todd in it, but that was just a setup to basically do Crusade. That's neither here nor there. Doesn't count. But no, seriously, the first ones in B5 could, in theory, cripple everyone in the 40k universe without much effort. Speaking of ancient, angry, leftover freaking forefathers, we have the Ori and the Ancients from the Stargate universe. We didn't even bother to include the Goa'uld because the 40k universe would just... The Tau could bitch smack the Goa'uld across the galaxy with a less than a thought. Now, they have hundreds of super advanced capital ships. They've got planet killers, standard FTL engines. They can move across the galaxy at a fairly good clip. Definitely faster than 40K. Not as fast as, say, Star Wars, but still faster than Star Trek. Next up is they've also got wormhole generators. They can make wormholes from one point to other fixed points on planets or in space with little to no effort. And finally, they are basically all reality warpers. These guys can fuck with our standard reality like nobody's business because they're 2 or 3 dimensional levels higher than us on a plane of existence. So, like, we can affect 3, 2, and 1 degree levels of dimensional, like, interacting with things, but we can't interact with 4, 5, 6 through 11 dimension. We can't interact higher. We can always interact lower. The Ori and the Ancients are higher on that list, so can interact all the way down with us. And we can barely fuck with them back. It took some serious Deus Ex Machina again to whoop their ass in Book of the Ancients or whatever it was, that last movie. So if they decided to go toe-to-toe with the 40K universe, the best thing, or the worst thing that they could hope for, would be mutually assured destruction. Because there is enough psychic counterbalance in the 40K universe, I think they could probably assume that in a full-on conflict, they're both going to wipe each other out, and it's going to be just a wasteland afterwards. Okay, so the next one is going to be up is going to be the Lensmen series, written by Elmer Doc Smith. Now, this is a much, much older series, with the first book being written in 48 and the last one in 54, but it is a philosophical nightmare to try and get through. Hence, the pipe. Anyway, long story short, thinkers versus doers, extra-dimensional powers. Yeah, it gets freaking crazy. Long story short, in the book, millions of advanced capital ships are available at any time. They've got weapons of terrifying power that you'd only find in Stellaris freaking mods, like nickel Dyson beams or black hole bombs, literal bombs that could turn things into black holes. They've got inertialess, instantaneous FTL travel anywhere, basically, that they want. Anywhere that's known, they can travel in an instant. They've got standard AI, not a huge deal, but again, this would be an attrition victory. Like, they're not so far ahead of the Imperium in terms of technology in a lot of ways, but they are in much other ways. Like, again, some of their weapons are absolutely freaking bananas. If you know what a nickel Dyson beam is you take a Dyson sphere, cut it in half, like a satellite dish, you aim it at whatever you want to shoot, and it makes a beam of freaking radiation go right out at it. It's like making your own pulsar neutron star with a beam that shoots straight out like a gamma ray burst. Think Starkiller Base, but more reality and less copying their first movie. Bullshit. Yeah, I said it. Alright, now the next 2 on this list, some of you who are older millennials might recognize. In the early 2000s, the show Andromeda with K-Sorbs there, commonly referred to as the Kevin Sorbo Power Hour. If you're not aware of who Kevin Sorbo is, he used to play Hercules on TV back in the mid to late 90s before he turned into a raging homophobe. Before he turned into a raging B-class actor who his career kind of stalled out late or early 2000. Now, one species on this list, I think, would definitely be able to go toe-to-toe with the 40K universe. Only because they're kind of like the Tyranids, but they're not. Yeah, they are, but anyway, the Magog. For their ships, they've got world ships, swarm ships, which basically is what it sounds like. That's a swarm of ships that go out, grab onto other ships, punch holes in them, and disgorge loads of Magog, which run out and either A, eat everyone on board, or B, turn them into living hosts for their children, who will in turn eat their way out of whoever they infected. They've also got genetic memory, which is how they're able to learn. So, like, they can do things when they're born instantaneously because they've got the genetic memory of everything or every Magog that came before them, and every whoever was infected, they've got their genetic memory too, going all the way back, which makes them absolutely terrifying on the battlefield to fight. Their main weapons for besides world ships are point singularity projectiles. Yes, that's right. They will shoot black holes at whatever they're fighting. They're shooting literal black holes at you. So they have something kind of like slow space called slipstream space, which allows them to move faster than light speeds across intergalactic distances without any relativistic effects. They could literally, as it was quoted in the show, travel back and forth all day from the Milky Way to Andromeda galaxy and back, and like nothing happened. No relativistic time change would take place between the two. They've got super AI. Again, they're semi-hive-minded. Plus, they've got genetic memory going all the way back as far as that particular genetic line has infected others. So the more they infect, the smarter they get with each generation. It would be one of those situations where it would be mutually assured destruction at absolute best, and the entire 40K galaxy being consumed until they come up across the Tyranids, at which point the Tyranids are going to win, but we're mostly fighting just the galaxy itself, not the extragalactic threats in the 40K universe. At least for most of these. Now the next one up is the system's Commonwealth, which is again the Andromeda show's version of Starfleet. Because Kay Storab's always wanted a sci-fi show where he was captain of the Enterprise, but, you know, he was really terrible at it. Anyway, the system's Commonwealth has thousands of super advanced nanotechnology, applied AI-controlled warships that are on scale with most of the medium-sized capital ships in the 40K universe. They are faster, more maneuverable, better armed. They can produce all of their own munitions on board just by driving through a freaking asteroid field. They can gather up all the raw materials necessary to completely renew all of their materials. They can produce everything on board each ship. And these ships are freaking massive and armed to the teeth. They stay well outside, they fight well outside of the ranges that the Imperium of Man would be used to fighting, or even the Eldar or the Necron. Basically, they would score nothing but strategic victories, completely cutting off pretty much every civilization from each other, each planet and system inside the Imperium, and then probably, if they needed to, they would just bomb planets that they know they couldn't bother taking on the ground or who wouldn't surrender. That's just what I see happening. That's at the best case scenario for at least the system Commonwealth. At worst, stalemate, probably attrition, worst case for them. If everything goes wrong, they get knocked on their ass, but the Imperium, everyone would be out of the fight as well because they couldn't carry on. Next one is the Reapers from the Mass Effect universe. This is a video that I'm actually working on, period, but I decided to include it in this list just because I want to be as generous as possible for the next video. So they've got 50 to 100,000 ships of varying sizes, from the size of, say, a lunar class cruiser all the way up to 5-kilometer long freaking huge boys. Now, the thing is all of their technology when it lands on planets begins what's called indoctrination, which means that the people around it will start wanting to worship the Reapers and want to do everything they can to make things easier for the Reapers. Everything they do is about indoctrination. So if they just decided to park their ass above the galaxy, scatter their technology all through the Milky Way galaxy onto all the planets, or even just swing by real quick, drop some stuff off, and keep on going, and then just wait, because they're absolutely patient as all hell. They've waited outside the galaxy tens of thousands of years at a time to go in and wipe everything out on scale. So, they're not above waiting. And then basically all the planets, because again, this is one of those things where if indoctrination kicks off like it's supposed to, then I could see them winning. But if the Inquisition kicks in, who knows? They use mass relays to get around, however, they are able to travel through regular sea space. It's obviously going to be a lot slower, but again, the Reapers are patient. It would be nothing for them to think like, okay, it's going to take us 100,000 years to go through the entire galaxy, so let's just get started. They are essentially what would be qualified as a super intelligence. Because essentially each Reaper is a civilization unto itself. They've got the combined intellect and, I guess, mental capital as an entire planet or even an entire civilization. Possible they would have mutually assured destruction, especially if the Imperium could catch them out in the open, because Reaper vessels and their technology is extremely vulnerable to plasma fire. It won't take long for the Imperium to catch on about that once they realize that their projectile technology is no good against mass shields. That's just where I'm at. So I would think that it would be possibly mutually assured destruction if they could catch them out in the open. But if the Reapers decide to play the long game, they would, over time, basically overtake everything, leaving just the space-faring civilizations, like just the ones that are on spaceships that don't pick up stuff on other planets and definitely leave other technology the fuck alone. Those ones would be fine. So Craft World Eldar would be like, hey, we're pointy-eared French people. We are good, we are arrogant, we survive by not touching dirty Imperial planets. They'd survive. Everyone else is going to be fucked. And finally, the one I know some of you have been waiting for to see if I'll make a video about it. The Q. Not the Q Continuum, the Q. Q-U. From All Tomorrows. The absolute body horror nightmare book that most of you have been waiting for me to see if I would do one on. Now, the Q are essentially, I guess you would call them the first civilization. All Tomorrows is the book written by C.M. Kozeman, I guess you could say. He wrote it under a pen name, Nemo Ramjet, I think it was. Let me just see here. What was that? Going in. Yes, it was in fact Nemo Ramjet, otherwise known as M. Kozeman. Now, it is basically what happens when what we would consider super advanced humans, who use genetic engineering to make themselves more advanced as time goes on, come toe-to-toe with the absolute genetic apex, fuck around and find out species of the universe. The Q, or Q, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Their fleet scales, indeterminate, it's not even mentioned. Basically, humanity controls the entire Milky Way galaxy at this point, and the Q just coming on through, see humanity and go, what the fuck is this? We're the gods here, not you. You disgust us. And they proceeded to fist fuck us out of existence and turn us into things that would make the Drukhari jealous. Like there was one planet where they were basically turned all the post-humans there into living toilets to eat the Q's shit. Or basically turn them into bricks, eating each other's shit as it goes down the line. Like, they were cruel. They fucked everything up. And it took a literal billion years for us to, or 500 million years for us to recover enough to fuck them back. Now, none of the species in the Milky Way galaxy, with the exception of the Necrons, would be able to go toe-to-toe with the coup. The Necrons seem to be getting off light here because, one, they don't have a genetic code to fuck with anymore. So it would be like the coup trying to face off against the Terminator. It's like, well, I can't fight genetics if you don't have genetics. So they are masters of complete genetic warfare. We threw everything we had at them. We were a tier 3 civilization, had control of the Milky Way galaxy, and we got wiped the fuck out without even a second thought, and turned into toilets, or into living carrots, or into literal monkeys. Yes, return to monkey. So they don't have anything fancy for FTLs because they just travel on through the universe, going from galaxy to galaxy, making the rounds, altering things as they see fit, because their religion sees them as the absolute gods and rulers of the universe. Like, it takes 2 full rotations of the Milky Way galaxy, about 500 million years, before we get our revenge on them. And humanity, at least at this point, we've barely been around 1 million years, at least 100,000 that we're aware of. Now, they are a super intelligence. They are the genetic peak apex predator of the universe. If you've got a genetic structure or are a baryonic matter living creature, the coup will fuck you up. The only hope that the Imperium or even the Eldar would have in dealing with them, or even the Orcs, is that they would be susceptible to psychers. Because again, in Ultimates, there's no mention of psychic activity, so we don't know if they would be susceptible or not. We know they wouldn't be able to fuck with machines because the humans that fuck the coup right in the ass in the absolute bitter end were the new machines, which were the old machines, which were angry machines that were humans that were left over that merged with technology the coup had left behind. So it took us finding their guns and fucking them with it. That's how we roll. Best case scenario for the Imperium or even the whole 40k galaxy would be mutually assured destruction if psychic potential comes into play. If not, goodbye living, and the Drukhari are about to get a whole host of new items in their catalogs of just genetic horrors. The homunculi are going to have some friends. Hell, Fabius Bile would be the only one who would find the coup interesting and probably want to talk with them. Oh, I thought about throwing the Concordiad of Man from the Bolo saga on this list. As you can see from my bookshelf here, I am the absolute undisputed YouTube lore master. Check out the Dinochrome command on YouTube. But anyway, but that's going to be a video in itself because they're one of the civilizations where I think it would be a pretty even fight in the end. But the Q themselves, they're going to get a video all on their own. The Reapers are going to get one all on their own. And possibly the system's Commonwealth. A lot of these other guys, they don't have a whole... You can't do any fun videos with it because they are just so far out there, so far advanced, so powerful, that it's like, again, you know, like I said in the Halo video, like if we were to put the UNSC up against the Imperium of Man, that's like literally throwing puppies into a wood chipper. It's just, it's no fun. Where's the fun in that? There's no sport. So we'll see what happens in the near future. But these are, in fact, the sci-fi universes and species that would just beat the bricks off of 40k if push came to absolute shove. We can expect to see some of them, like I said, in videos in the near future. Thank you for showing up this week. I hope my analysis of factions that could, in fact, do something entertained you a little bit. If you do, in fact, like what I do, like, share, subscribe, as I said in the beginning. Maybe join the Patreon. Who knows? Anyways, guys, that'll be all this week. See y'all next time. Peace. Have fun.